when the marriage failed in the mid-'80s, I opened myself up to the possibility that I could have a relationship with a man.
That was Clive's move. He did that. And then Diddy, along with a lot of help from a lot of other people all around him, proceeded to do 30 years worth of sexual blackmail operations within the rap industry.
Allegedly, Diddy got on his knees for Clive Davis in 1994, and that's how Bad Boy Records came about.
If you knew how Clive Davis used to Luther Vandross, it might make you look at some of those Luther Vandross albums a little different.
Clive Davis was preying on young male artists his whole career, and this isn't coming from me. It comes directly from people inside the industry, including Shug Knight. He claimed that Clive operated a twisted industry playbook that he later passed down to younger executives, including Diddy. So allegedly, Clive would pressure male artists into intimate relationships or rituals in exchange for career backing and stardom. And it's not just Diddy. I want to talk about other male artists that Clive allegedly victimized and got away with it. So let me start with Luther Vandross. Luther was dealing with speculations about his sexuality his whole career, but he never really admitted or denied those rumors. However, this was pretty much an open secret in the industry. Patti LaBelle actually outed Luther after he was gone, and she received a lot of backlash for that.
Did he struggle with the idea of coming out publicly? Was that something that you talked about at all?
We talked about it. It was basically he did not want his mother to be, although she might have known, but he wasn't going to come out and say this to the world. And he had a lot of lady fans, and he told me that he just didn't want to upset the world.
But here's where it gets interesting. According to industry insiders, Clive Davis was the one who told Luther to stay in the closet because he worried people would find out what he himself was doing behind the scenes. Here's Jaguar Wright talking about how Clive allegedly victimized Luther.
If you knew how Clive Davis used to Luther Vandross, it might make you look at some of those Luther Vandross albums a little different. You know, we shouldn't have to naturally expect as artists that we're gonna have to be victimized to get ahead.
So Jaguar didn't really elaborate on what she meant by Clive torturing Luther. So I want to dig a little deeper into their relationship. So we all know that Clive was one of the most successful executives in the music business, but he was more than that. He was one of the main gatekeepers, and he had the power to decide which artists would break into the mainstream, and he didn't go by talent alone, at least not when it came to male artists. Now, Clive came out as bisexual in 2013, but rumors about his relationships with young men started years before that, like way back in the 80s. Here's Clive talking about his bisexuality.
You're bisexual, and you've been involved in 2 lengthy relationships with men, including 1 now.
I opened myself up to the possibility of having a relationship with a person rather than a gender.
I've always suspected that people who say they're bisexual, the celebrities I've seen who said it, probably are gay.
With a healthy degree of skepticism, I'm here to say that bisexuality.
Now, I want to be clear, this isn't about Clive's sexuality. That's not TA issue here. The issue is when old, powerful, rich men prey on young people because those people are in a vulnerable situation. And that's what Clive was accused of. He was never officially charged with anything. But like I said, these rumors followed him for decades. Allegedly, Clive had a pattern of taking special interest in up-and-coming male artists, especially those who were rumored to be in the closet themselves. And industry insiders claim that Clive made it clear to these artists that if they wanted his help, they had to return the favor. And you can probably guess what type of favors. There are even rumors that Clive pressured Luther into doing some things he really didn't want to do, and Luther was basically trauma bonded to Clive. At the same time, Clive allegedly used Luther's sexuality as leverage, so if Luther stepped out of line, his career could be sabotaged. Now, for context, after Clive was fired from CBS Records in 1973 for using company funds to pay for his son's son's bar mitzvah, he launched his own label, Arista Records. But in 2000, Clive got ousted from Arista when L.A. Reid took over, and that same year, Clive announced the formation of his new label, J Records, with Luther as his first signee. Before that, Luther hadn't released an album since 1997, and when they asked him how he felt about Clive signing him, Luther said it was worth it. Now there's been a lot of speculation about what exactly Luther meant when he said it was worth it, and a lot of people now believe Luther had to do some favors for Clive in exchange for that record deal. And keep in mind that Clive was 20 years older than Luther. The whole situation is just sad. Luther wasn't even able to live his truth, and all he wanted was to find love and a genuine connection, but he never found that. Instead, he was allegedly victimized by this older man and then pressured to stay quiet about this trauma. And you know, this has always been a pattern with Clive. So let's talk about Tevin Campbell. Luckily, he made it out of the industry alive, but that doesn't mean he was unharmed. Allegedly, Tevin was taken to these weird industry parties when he was still a teenager. And after that, everything just went downhill for him. And Jaguar Wright alleged that Tevin turned to substances after being victimized at those parties.
If you actually knew what they do to children, how does a boy with a voice like that had the records that he had that could have easily transformed into one of the greatest male vocals of all time, end up himself for drugs and change on Hollywood Boulevard? How does that happen with a gift like his? Money over morals? What morals? It's the music industry. What morals?
No, I'm saying they're choosing money over morals.
Listen to me. It's deeper than that. It's not even money. See, it's power. It's dominion.
Now, there's no real evidence that Clive personally did something to Tevin, but the rumors are that Clive was the ringleader behind those parties where young male artists were broken. And this came from Shug Knight, who claimed that Clive preyed on almost every closeted male artist.
Puffy and Clive, according to Puffy and everybody else, they've been lovers. Shit. Clive know Ray J, Clive know Puffy, Clive know everybody. Clive's that type of guy. And if you notice, somebody sent me a clip one time on my tablet. And Clive, if somebody asked Clive about Puffy, they called me to Jackson about it. He acted like he didn't know who the man was. Yeah. Like he never knew it. I mean, what did you hide, Clive? You know, yeah. At the end of the day, Clive is one of the guys who got away.
And then
Usher did Justin Bieber or Puffy. Started with Michael Jackson. Started with, we can go on and on.
But the saddest part in all this is that Clive never faced any consequences. He lived to be 94, he had a full life, and he got away with everything. Meanwhile, all these talented young artists either died before their time or had their careers ruined. But let me know how you feel about all this, and I'll catch you in the next one.